Fantastic. We started recording. So just for those who watch it. So I need to now start composing myself. The one I was doing before, I have to adjust. I'm only joking. Okay. So I would allow Dio to give it and just tell us a little about yourself as well as Joubert. So I'll go to Dio first. Just something brief. I didn't read all your stuff, but just what would you like people to know about you?
All right. Thank you very much for having me here. Well, first off, I am Dio Samuel. That is my name. I'm a research, design, and content strategist. By that, I do a lot of research and I translate this research, especially research in science and spirituality. And I translate that into both content and design, especially as everyday tools so that you can use for transforming your well-being as well as creating wealth. So in short, what I do is basically translate science and spirituality into everyday tools of wellness, well-being, and wealth.
Fantastic. That's really good. Dio has got it's got a few things. Got a YouTube channel that you might want to put the
Yes,
link. Maybe I'll go on.
okay,
I've
that's fine.
seen one or two of your content, and I think it's really good. I went to look at your AI tools, the one for chat, the comparison between
ChatGPT
ChatGPT
versus Google Bard.
versus Google Bard, and I
Interesting.
think it was really good. And I think since you did that content, I've shared it, and my husband has started using Bard. I've been trying to convince him to use one of these things. He's like, no, he doesn't want. I'm like, you will spend years doing something I will do in 5 seconds. So he's adopted it, some of his reports. He's like, oh my God, my reports just go this. I'm like, yes, these tools are available. So why are you running away? So that's a discussion for
Yeah.
another time. I'll probably bring you back another time to have something that is a bit techy or something, but we'll reserve that. Okay, I'll go over to Joubert. Can you introduce yourself briefly?
All right, so I already feel intimidated.
Don't mind
Dio.
Dio, don't mind him. I know we know it. Don't be.
I'm already intimidated. So like the name says, I'm just Joubert Jamal. I'm a simple person. I introduce myself as a father of two amazing daughters. I mean, what would I say? I'm transitioning from being someone who has been in telecoms into projects. And so I see everything more like a project. So one of the projects that I'm thinking of doing, or that, like I said, like a startup, is helping fathers to take responsibility of their homes. And so I have a startup that I call a startup, the Better Dad Community, Better Dad Network, where I want to bring in fathers so that we can have a support systems, because we find out that fathers do not talk, men do not talk. They only talk when it's football, but the things that really matter, we have not been talking about it. So that's who I am, and that's what I want to do to impact the world.
Fantastic. Well done. How can you say, oh, you already feel intimidated by you can't be, you're a savior as long as you're providing a solution, even if all you're doing is, raising those beautiful daughters who can become the president tomorrow. So you're already impacting. So no profile is small here. But yes, so for those who are just joining, welcome. And why are you guys late? Why are you late? That was a joke. But please, can we get our people on here? If you know that that somebody that needs to hear this or needs to be here, it's not just sufficient for people to watch the replays, and they can actually let's send out. You know how when you go for some prayer meetings, you say share, 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 share. Now I'm saying, well, let's get as many people that need to be on, as usual, on board, and let's get our people here. Good to see everybody. Israel, I sight you. Maureen, it's good to see you. Perry, it's good to see you. Uchechi, it's good to see you as well. Okay. And Ganiu as well. Now, we want to go straight in. So you giving us a brief about yourself. And I think the first question I want to start with, and I'm open to your questions. Please put your questions in the chat and I'll put it there. In your opinion, and I'll start with yourself, Joubert, what does it mean to be a man? what does it mean for a man to have roles, and what or how does the society define a man? I want you to do those 3 in 1, to approach it from its 3 in 1 kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay, 3 in 1.
Yes. Or you can just, so I'm talking about, so just the topic we're talking about today, to you,
Okay.
what does it mean to be a man?
Okay. Let me start with a simple definition. What I feel, or like you said, in my opinion, I would say a man is the masculine expression of mankind. That is as simple as it gets. Now, when you talk about roles, I believe that there are different factors that would contribute to the role of a man. And I think one of them is nature itself. And I think the other one, like we know, would be things like the environment and culture and society. Now, the one that is nature hardly changes. And then the one that society and environment and, other factors bring is the one that we need to adapt to, depending on circumstances. So I'll leave it at that, and let's Dayo continue.
That's quite interesting. I was actually enjoying your definition because it resonates with what I want to understand a man to be. Perhaps maybe this question will lead us on another path, and probably we'll release a documentary by June next year so that we can help those who are confused in the world right now understand what is a man. Since what is a woman is easier to be answered by all those professionals. But just as you said, a man is basically a masculine expression of humankind, or like I always say it, the masculine expression of God. And a man, his role is multifaceted, and a man can take on many roles depending on the circumstances. A man can be a breadwinner and a man can be a bread eater, depending on the situation. So a man can be, in UK, they call it the highest income earner, and a man can be the lowest income earner. A man can be anything depending on the dynamics of the peculiar family he finds himself.
Fantastic. Thank you for this definition. And I like how you kind of put it all together to answer the question. But Dayo, that's so not fair. Breadwinner, bread eater. I've never heard that bread eater.
Yes, now
No.
they always say breadwinner in Nigeria, but it's somebody that will win the bread and somebody that will eat the bread. So
you know what I think one should be doing now? When a woman wants to marry, now part of the questions, usually you say you should question and you should interview the man, whatever. Everybody should interview her. So you just say, are you a breadwinner or a bread eater? Which one are you? Just be one of the questions on the breadwinner or bread. That's so funny. Oh my goodness. Okay, that's good. That's really good. My next question, and like I said to everyone listening, please feel free to put in your question. This is a no holding back session. We just want to feel the pulse. We want to be open. We want to be honest. Jubez said something really fundamental, which is true. A lot of times, men are not known to, you not find them in communities or places like this. And that probably is going to be one of my questions. Why is that? But we would get there. He said that you only see them when they're playing sports, Arsenal, this. What's my business with that? Whose volume? Is it my volume? Is my volume low? Is it better? Oh, sorry. My volume is low. Okay. Let me know if it's better now. I've tried to increase it actually. So, and you said something about only when football. It's not you miss one part. There's another one. I'm not going to say it out.
It's women, we know it.
Lie. No, how can you say that? What?
Is it beer?
No, a man.
No, because just as he said, men kind of talk only in certain situations,
They talk
which
about
is
football. They said football. I said it's not just football. There's one critical part that is not mentioned. How can you say, is he?
I don't know that one.
Is he beer? Dayo. How can you say that? You just talked about it.
In
now. You
Benue,
said-
men talk about beer more than they talk about any other thing in their lives.
No, but Dayo, you just talked about something. I just used the same illustration when I said that I'm going to start before a woman can go somewhere to say anything. Before they get married now, they have to be asking the men, are you a what? Breadwinner? Talk about money. Come
Money.
on.
Oh, okay.
Men compare themselves with themselves directly as they're sizing themselves. What does this one do? Where does it work? They begin to, what kind of car does it drive? You can just size up. So that's another thing that men talk about. That's the truth. If you want to get men, football, money, investments, all this kind of thing, they would attend this kind of session. So yeah, that's what I was going to call out. Okay. The other question is, no, okay, before I go to that next question, people have said that a lot of times men, and you've also mentioned it, you don't see men in communities like this really being a part of it. You see more times it's usually the women, or you get the women to invite them, to drag them, to do things like that. They don't like to be in certain settings. They don't want to, even when you go to churches, religious houses, and everywhere, you find out that mostly women. Is there any explanation to that? Do you know? You guys are men, so I know you are men. So, Dayo, do you want to? Why are you pointing to me?
No, Mr. Jube should answer, please.
Okay. In my experience with men, we would not really like to talk about things that mean a lot to us. And that includes even to ourselves. So you hardly see a man who will tell his wife certain things, not to talk about expressing the same thing with other men. I do not know why that is so, but I believe that one of the possible reasons is the fact that if you look at different roles that the man finds himself in, he seems to be, I don't know whether consciously or unconsciously under pressure. So let's take an example. Once a man becomes a husband, what he wants to do, even if society does not demand it of him, is to provide for the woman. And so he's thinking how to get that done. So when you talk about, you said he's thinking money, he's thinking investment, he's thinking of this. Because I believe one of the greatest fears would be not being able to provide for his family. And I don't want to look at it from the angle of stereotype that he must be the provider, but the angle of the family is a team, the man is a team lead. Now, in the family, there must be, in any environment where there's a group of people, there has to be a team lead. Now, even in this Zoom meeting, you are facilitating. Without somebody doing that role, everything will be chaotic. So the man is the team lead. And as that, he wants to be the one who would be the shining example. There are times that he's not able to meet up, like in our own situation now, me that I just moved to the UK. I'm not the one that is the breadwinner because I came to school, you understand? But the point is, deep in my mind, I'm thinking, I want to get a job. I want to be able to be the one paying the rent once more. Whether society wants it or not, that's the way the man is configured. Now, when he feels that he has achieved what he should do as the breadwinner, or let me use the word as the team lead, he now relaxes. That's one. If he doesn't relax in that situation, the other situation he relaxes when he wants to get his mind off the problems. And so he would go and sit down and talk about football and talk about things like that. But the things that burn inside, the pressures that he has to go through, he wants to solve it internally. So those are the things, those are the dynamics, and those are the things that I've seen that will prevent men from joining, things like this, where other men will come and let's talk. They will keep wondering, what are we going to talk about? Are you going to tell me about emotions? Are you going to tell me how to take care of my family and what to do? So I think that's it for me. That's what I've seen so far. I don't know if Dio has anything else that he wants to add to this.
So the question, just to refresh my memory, the question is, because I was actually enjoying what he was saying. So somehow I lost the question, but off the top of my head right now, I'm trying to remember that you asked that why don't men talk, right?
Yeah, why don't they talk?
So,
why don't they, thrive in communities? Why don't you find them?
A couple of weeks ago, I actually asked the same question. And because my WhatsApp is where I do my first run of research, so I sample opinions a lot on my status, even when, okay, I just shared the link to this meeting on my status now. So some people may join here that I don't want them to know what I've been doing. But what I usually do is I start conversations on my status just to sample what people think. Now, the reason why men don't talk, there's a research that was just recently published. It's not even published, actually. The founder of the organization actually sent it to me on LinkedIn, I think about 4 days ago. And they sampled 55 men. I think many of them are in the UK, if I'm correct. And according to that, they happen to be, the top sectors happen to be professional services, banking and finance, marketing and advertising, and technology, and they are between the ages of 25 to 54. It happens that the reason why men don't work is because of the emotions they tend to carry or they tend to hold on to that kind of inhibits the kind of conversations they can have. So out of those 55 men, 33% were suffering or describe what the reason why they don't talk, especially at work. Frustration was 33%, anxiety was 24%. Anticipation, my belief of that anticipation is still like anticipation of a negative outcome sometimes, because anticipation and imagination, the two of them are the same thing, just that what the expectation can be can change from time to time. And then fear, which is an area that I've been specialized in since 2017. Fear happens to be 22% of the reasons why they don't talk. Joy is 20%. Trust, 16% of why they don't talk. Anger is 13% of why they don't talk. And when I decided to look at that, what I was seeing was these men also have emotions. Now, they may not be able to fully express these emotions to perhaps maybe their spouses. They may not be able to completely, because sometimes, depending on the kind of man, if it's an intimidating man, for example, the way they will push out the emotions will be different from if they were a creative convertible. And so I think the reason why they don't talk is because, and by the way, that's not me. Interestingly, one of the family values, so part of what I did not say at the beginning of introducing myself is I'm a father of two, I'm a boy and a girl, and I've been married for, I will soon be 10 years married, Sha. So that I will not disappoint my wife. I've been married since 2016, so that I will not, so that you will not go and stereotype me as one of those men that used to forget my wedding anniversary September 3rd. So
That's not nowhere near 10 years. Which kind of 10 years? It's only 7 years. Then you'll be 10 years. When?
In 3 years, you'll be 10 years now.
You just disappoint. I'm going to report you.
It's okay. You will not let me talk again.
Continue.
That's just joke anyway. For me as a person, one of the things that I've done over the years has been to have a mastermind. And for me, the mastermind has been what has helped me for years. For example, there's something currently going on at my workplace right now. I'm in the middle of a chaos. I'm in the middle of a crisis. Around 4 a.m. this morning, I dropped a message for the new mastermind I just formed in the UK. We are just 4 of us. All of us are from Nigeria, and we are all men, and we all understand the challenges that we also experience here. And I kind of poured my heart out to them and told them. And guess what? While I was here now, a message just came in that we want to do a prayer session later this night. Now, the reason why we could open up, and some of them actually shared some of the challenges they are experiencing, is because we created the atmosphere. We created by atmosphere, we got together and then we said, you know what? So that everybody can open up, I led it by telling them something horrible or something nobody knows about myself. And that was how I broke the jinx. So the moment I said that, everybody just said, oh my, I never knew that about you. You that I used to watch on YouTube, you that, but I did it intentionally because there's a guy that I came across last year who runs the Diary of a CEO. And one of the things they found was in talking to all the CEOs have deep-seated emotions that they can't express. So they get them to write questions to the next guest who they don't know about. And some of those questions trigger those CEOs, and they go down the party and like, wait, I've never thought about that. Or some of them will say, that's a challenge I'm currently experiencing. But they finish the entire podcast, so they don't say it. They presented themselves as, we have everything perfect. And then at the end, they just say, oh, I can relate with that. That's something I'm currently dealing with. So it's creating an atmosphere for the men. And sometimes the men don't feel like that atmosphere is present. So the woman may do a lot of talking. The woman may move them emotionally, may do this, may do that. As long as the man does not internally feel like, especially when they are with other people, especially when they are with a lot of men, for example, personally, there's nothing about me that my wife does not know. I literally, in fact, the way it happens is that if I start off from my office here, I'm going downstairs to go and share what just happened right now with my wife. I finish, I come back upstairs, sit down again. And then if another thing happens, I go downstairs. So sometimes my device used to tell me that I've climbed stairs 22 times. Because me, I can't keep it in. Openness is one of our family values. So for me, it's how I relate with people. But especially since I came to the UK, one of the things I've also seen is men can be closed off. A lot, especially when they now know that, just as you said, that comparison, when it begins to happen, I've literally told somebody a lot of things, and the person just looked at me like this. How do you used to do that? You used to say all these things, sir. And like, so that you can actually talk to me. And he still did not say anything. Later, like when Shove came to stove, that's how I like to say it. He called me on phone and he was exhausted and he said that I've been holding it for the past, but I think I have to tell you because you are the kind of person who has always asked and talked about this kind of thing. So sometimes it's creating that atmosphere, and in order to get them to talk, you probably may also show a little bit of vulnerable side of yourself in order for them to gradually entrust you with what me and Matthew Adedoyin used to call secret about you that you don't let people know, and secret about you that is out there. Secret about you that is out there is basically information. Secret about yourself that you reveal by yourself does not become scandal. It is a secret about you that somebody else reviews that becomes scandal. So what I've learned over the years is secret about me, I quickly put it out and let you have it. Do with it what you wish. If you decide to open up, fine. If you don't open up, it's also fine. But that's something that I've always done. So again, why don't men talk? I think it's because they don't feel safe, especially around those emotions that I just listed.
This is like a master class. I am learning, I'm taking notes. When you are hearing from the heart of the men themselves. And I like the way, Jube, expressed and talked about, what is experienced and, with people around and what makes men to talk. And of course, how you've linked it back to the research and all. It'd be interesting when that research comes out, if you can share, so at least, because it's all about finding a way out, not so much about just learning about it. It's about taking action, about seeing that change. Because for me, I am representing the women. Tonight, I am representing women. Are you on my side? Women. Because anyway, I run a mothers group. So whether my women are answering or not, I'm representing them and I'm standing on that. I think for us, it's become a thing of concern, so to say, that you've said so much about, why men don't talk and all that. But for us as women, community is our lifestyle. As in, women thrive in communities, that's it. It's like we've been built that way. I think it's a physiological thing with us. It might not be big groups, but you always have that one person. You just hear maybe, from this book about men are from Mars and women are from Venus, that one where it just describes us and who we are in different ways. We just think differently and all those things. So you've talked about why they don't, and you were kind of touching on how to get them out. Is there any key changes that you think can be a way out for us? I know you talked about the mastermind that you do. Jube talked about, when the conversation has to do with, it's almost like it takes away the immediate thought of the problems, so something they can get away from, like the football will get their mind away from the core problem. But guess what? It still doesn't solve the problem. And somehow we are involved. For those who have families, the children are involved, or any other relationship around them is involved. So we want to see that. What's the way out? What is the way out? And honestly, we're being open and honest here. You might say, well, research has not necessarily given us the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps way out. It might be something that is still being discovered because it's typical for us to know about men. Or you might just say, okay, 1 or 2 few tips that could actually help someone listening, or the wife of someone listening, or the brother, or the sister, or someone, or even the men listening themselves to say, okay, maybe. Because when that problem is not solved, when it's being carried, the ripple effect is felt not just from that person, but from all the other people who are impacted. So we want to see that no matter how little that changes, little by little, let's bring in those tiny changes that can make a difference. And we all feel the impact and feel the change. Because it's like when people say that sometimes when the man comes in and the atmosphere is not happy or something, the atmosphere in the house is just not, it's not right. It's the same thing with the woman, but I think the men are just totally different. Even the kids, it's like there's this fear for most people, in quotes, many of us growing up, except for personality differences with some fathers who are, relaxed and chilled. And my father was someone like that, chilled, relaxed, what's his business and all that. But not everybody is like that. So, but there are some, once they're fathers, once they come in. So we're looking at the next generation, not just your generation now, but even the ones coming after, because they're saying, you guys, they're saying how daddy's bottling it up and, it's not being open and all that. But what do we want to hand over to them? How do we want them to learn? What should they be doing differently? They shouldn't step up and carry on the same thing where there's still that ripple effect. I'm coming, darling. Mommy, I'm coming. Okay. So there shouldn't be. So what is the way? It might not be one thing, it might be research is still going. Just tell us, even if that's all we take away from here. Way out. Anybody can start. I don't want to point. And don't point to Jube. You start now.
So sometimes I try to understand questions so that I can properly answer it. So that question is still a little unclear to me. So would you want to go over that question again?
Okay, so we've talked about why men either don't talk, don't open up, they don't like, they don't really like all this community stuff. They just like to do their things themselves. You talked about that research, that why don't men open up? I'm now asking, what is the way out? How can we help? Is there, has research shown us that, okay, despite what we've seen in results, actually this can help the men. If this happens, if you do this, do that, do that. Yes.
Okay, so I think if I'm correct at this point, I think what could help men talk again will probably be a feeling of safety, a feeling of being safe enough to share, a feeling of, I know this person won't judge me if I say it. I have a friend who I met as I was about to get married, I think about a couple of months or maybe almost a year before I got married. There's a friend I have till today, and the relationship started from a coach and coachee kind of relationship, but morphed into becoming friend. And for as long as I've known him, there have been times where he'll just call me up and say, this is what's going on. I'll call him up and say, well, I'm tired of this, I'm tired of this, I'm tired of that, I'm tired of this, I'm tired of that. But it came from the point of knowing that this person has the emotional bandwidth to accommodate what I'm about to download. Because sometimes that emotional bandwidth could be shut down, or the lack of that emotional bandwidth could be sometimes when you're talking to somebody, and this has happened to someone I know before. The person is talking, and then suddenly the person is talking to just say, ha! That kind of scream could make the person look, wait, I've only told you just the tip. When you now receive the iceberg, so it's that emotional bandwidth to be able to accommodate what the person wants to tell you. So again, first is that atmosphere of trust, the atmosphere of safety, knowing that if I tell this person, my secret is safe with this person. What I share with this person, even if this person does not give me advice, because sometimes it's not really the advice. Sometimes it appears as some men, because I don't like to say all men, sometimes some men already know what they need to do, but they just need somebody to help them process what's going on with them. They just need someone to help them process it. So that'll be the feeling of safety and then the emotional bandwidth to accommodate what the person wants to share. I think those two would be pointers to how to get men to talk. I hope I answered your question now. Let me hand over to JB.
Yes, please.
For me, I would want to let me say, start from the home front. Because you also mentioned something about the women want to get involved, the children are also there, and the emotions that the man displays would affect the family. So one thing I would like to talk about is from my own experience of moving into the UK, coming to school here. Of course, the role changed, and it meant me going to school and my wife working. There's a change for my wife because that means she's doing the work that I used to do when I was back in Nigeria, while she worked from home. And for me, it meant doing part-time work and having to go and ask my wife for money for transport. For the children, it would mean adjusting, because where we settled in, they were the only Black children. We settled in Somerset, first of all, before we moved to Milton Keynes. No other Black children were in their school. So it was difficult. So coming with the mindset that there would be challenges, it helped us to cope. And so one thing that I noticed that really did help was communication in the home. I give this illustration. I could take this mouse and I could give it to you this way. I could take this mouse and give it to you this way. One would harm you. The other one, you would collect it. You would get it, right? But it's the same mouse. And so whatever circumstances that we face, or whatever challenges that there are, we need what is called conversational intelligence. Whenever you speak, whatever you say is in our brains would either say, this person is a friend, this person understands, this person is open, or it would say in our minds, this person is attacking, this person is a foe. I need to defend myself. So whenever we want to open our mouths on whatever we want to say, we need to think about how it will affect the other person. So it will help in the family. There's no soul that loves being criticized, no matter who the person is. And so for the women, one thing that I want to advise is that when you want to talk to the husband, please do not go into the coaching mode. Do not try to coach your husband. Because, like we have said, he doesn't want to be coached. Because he's going to look at it as if they are coming from the angle of, you are teaching me. But it should be the angle of, how can we solve this? I am worried about this. How will we do it together? So that's what I call conversational intelligence. Asking questions, trying to show that the words you are using is going to land safely and not turn to stones. So that's why I feel that I would assist with the emotions in the family.
Should I say what I really want to say? That's, what you just said is, what you both of you are just describing is really quite deep. And I do see where you're coming from. And there's this saying that says, you can either appeal to the king in a man or the fool in a man, which describes what you just talked about. You can either throw this or give it and be mindful. But wait, you guys. Well, I don't want to say that. When people say it's a man's world, as in everything must be centered around that man, that okay, it's the way you talk to me. A part of me wants to say, what about the women? How do you think we feel ourselves? But we will not go there. I do, and I totally understand that. That's just more like, putting it or trying to play it in a way. But it's such a tricky thing. And a part of me is thinking that a lot of people sometimes say that a man's ego is something that you don't play with. What you just said and all the things you talked about, is it in any way linked to the man's ego? Or somebody say my volume is still low. Really? But everybody can hear me. Can't you hear me? Can you hear me? It's so too faint. The sound is quite low. Can you hear me?
Okay, that's a lot better.
Oh, maybe because my stuff is moving up and down. I'll try and put said it's good now. Okay, thank you. It's low. Pamela is saying it's low. It's better now. Okay, thank you. Thanks for the feedback. So, just one word answer, or does it have anything? I just want to know, so that on behalf of the Association of the Women Society and girls, we just want to know, does it have anything to do with the ego? Just so we understand what we're dealing with.
All right. If you remember when I started off, I said nobody likes to be criticized.
Mm.
So it's both ways. Do you like to be criticized?
Depends on who is giving it to me. And
You don't. Even if you behave as if you accept it,
no,
nobody likes to be criticized. So it's
even
both
kids.
ways.
Yeah,
Even kids. So it's both ways. It's not a case of whether the man. Now, I was explaining that way because you were mentioning that men come into the home and the emotions affect everybody.
Mhm.
You understand? But if you want to look at it from the other side too, the husband also needs to understand. For example, like I said, coming into the UK, there were times that I understood that why should I keep going to put the pressure on my wife? She's never done this before. I've also never had to cook and take care of the children, because when she was going to school, when she was going to work and I was schooling, when I get home, I had to be the one who the children will come to and say, Daddy, what are we going to eat? Because mom was not home. But it had to be done. And you know, this comes back to what we were saying about roles changing based on the environment and what is happening. So it goes both ways. It's not exactly an ego thing, because like I mentioned, in a team, the team lead would need to do whatever it takes to move the team forward. If you are very competent with agile these days, you find out that the scrum master is supposed to make his team succeed. And the way he talks to the team is such that everybody wants to do what they exactly. So that's why I'm looking at the family as, you know, everybody must become agile. We must adapt. The children too get to do some things, because here we are, what we've built in Nigeria over 40 years is not, we can't just get it in 2 years. So everybody's going to have to adapt. So it's not just about the man, the ego, but it's about the team working together to grow.
Thank you so much. I like the way you responded. So every human being needs that form of significance and respect, whoever you are, even little kids. You know, they don't want to be talked down on. They don't want to, even when they've done anything wrong. Everybody wants that sense of significance and respect, and it's general. And that's what we stand for as well within the, you know, that the Family Life Institute. Yeah, you were saying something?
I was pointing out, put your mic again before they say
Off your mic.
Okay, my microphone. I apologize. I will make sure that I am. Yes. So, I was saying that, you know, significance and respect is what everybody, even the little ones, you know, our children definitely have to. I like how, you know, Dio Samuel, I like to use a real life example. Dio Samuel's daughter just walked in. The former me, without having an understanding of significant respect, even for a little child, I said, oh, wait. But guess what? There was a day I was doing a conference and a summit. You know, my son walked in. I asked him to come because I knew he needed something, hugged him, and excused myself from that, because at that point in time, that child just shouting or yelling the child to go away, you know, there are things we need to weigh and look at differently. And some of those things are cultural, the things that have been handed over to us. So there's a lot of learning, relearning, unlearning, and everything, which is really good. And I also like how you approached it to say, and I also talked about it, coming from a different culture, there's a lot of unlearning for people to do. And honestly, once you leave the shores of Africa to come into this space, there's so much to have, especially if you've been a typical or third world thinking kind of man. It's a whole new world. So that's another box that, you know, we can't even open tonight, which, you know, it's people would learn over time. But, you know, generally, like PF would normally say, everybody eats, everybody cooks. But of course, I also respect the dynamics of what happens in Nigeria, of how, you know, the man goes out early, the woman tries to work her own schedule around the children. So whatever works for each family, as long as that family is happy, it's working for them, they're at bliss, fine. Everybody should do what works for them, which, you know, I don't have any issue with. Now, I'm conscious of our time, and I'm going to kind of round this up so that we can go. We try to finish really on time. I think for me, and I've not seen any question from anybody else, so I'm the one giving. If you have any question, let's quickly see if any question or any concern that anybody has got. And you've touched on it. This will be our last question and the last point that we're going to discuss is, I would like for you to give us two things, or maybe just one, that can help us, not just the women now, but generally the women, the society, or anybody, to be more of your allies or provide that support in achieving, all the things that we've been talking about so far, support the man and all that. Just give us one or two tips you think will be useful for the society, for other people generally. So by the society, I mean everybody else dealing with you. So starting from the family to work to, just give us two quick tips that you think people should take away to say, when it comes to men, this is a good thing to note to help us. Okay. Anybody can start. Dayo, always pointing.
All right, my senior colleague has said I should go on. All right, so for me, I think there are two things. And one of them is what I'm trying to build up, which is a community. Can you hear me clearly? So for me, I think
please go on. I just need to charge. I'm so sorry. Yeah, just go on.
No worries at all. I think one of the things for me is, and that's why like I said, I want to start up this community of, I call it Better Dads. I feel that the family, like we all know, is the nucleus of the society, with the man playing the role of the team lead. As the team lead, his role is adaptable, is changing, but he's leading the team the way that they should be led. So I think that a support system for men is one of the things that would definitely help. And when I mean a support system, I'm thinking of a community where men can come and comfortably, like Dayo just said, talk about the issues and gain assistance. So imagine if we have a community where we have 1,000 men who know their personality, they know the personality of their wives, they know their love languages, they know how to adapt, they can communicate well. Imagine if I have a community of 1,000 men like that, and these 1,000 men can each influence another 1,000 men each. What we're talking about is, a change that we're talking about in the society. So that's why I'm focusing on leading that Better Dad community.
Fantastic. That's so powerful. Just because of time, I'll just go straight to Dayo and then we'll just round up.
Hey, so in addition to what Jubea just said, to be able to I don't want to sound spiritual, but I think sometimes also praying for the men may also help them open up. Also praying for the men may help them come around. In one study that I did, I found that I'm trying to find a simpler way that is not going to be a non-complicated way, non-technical way to say this. So in one study I did, especially when I was writing my book in 2018, I remember that one of the things I found was when a family has a sort of a God figure, so to say, that they have within the family, it makes it easier for that family to handle emotions, better, but more importantly, because if we take it to Christians, it would be more like, I can forgive you because Christ first forgave me, because God through Christ first forgave me. So it can now become a relationship where the dynamic is playing because I know that this person is not just existing as an hollow human being. So namaste now comes into play. Namaste is, I recognize the God in you. I think that additional dimension may go a long way, because if you can recognize the God in the other, in your partner, if you can recognize the God in the person you're relating with, whether at work or whether at home, it makes it easier for you to, the idea of difference, you can easily defer to, okay, rather than me trying to be right in this situation, rather than me trying to be, of course, leadership is a different thing, because a leader, one person will have to be the leader, but I'm trying to find a simpler way to actually explain. But what I'm saying is basically what a lot of people call mutual respect. I think that's what I finally found the word. What a lot of people call mutual respect. Now, it's a different thing. Being married is one. Having mutual respect for each other is also another thing, because that mutual respect, the way it plays out is, if there's no mutual respect, the wife could say something and the husband could discard it as, you don't know what you're talking about, Jerry. And the husband could say something and the wife will say, it's not your fault. It's because you're just doing this, you're just doing this. So I think it comes down to that mutual respect and recognizing that there is God in this other human being and there is God in me. So my God, the God in me recognizes the God in you, so to say.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I think I've just had a wonderful time. I've learned, even though it feels like, but when you're hearing from the horse's mouth, you can relate. You're like, so you people. So, and it's not like one is trying to generalize or just put men under one bracket, but there are similarities. Research has also shown some things from, our discussions so far to say, this has been found in men, and we can take some of these things away to be able to use them. I like the way that Pamela said a support system. That support system is slightly different from the way the women would see it, because the women might like all the, the big communities, but you've talked about the fact that a man will want to gain your trust. He wants to see that they can entrust you with information, they can entrust you, can you be trusted, can they feel safe? Those are the kind of places. So we need to create safe spaces and trusted places for these men to be able to, grow, build, and find one or two friends that they can say, yes, that person, once I have anything, I can call them. They just want that thing, which is a very good lesson. A man should not be an island on him. I think that's one of the things I'm taking away, that no man should be an island to say, oh, I can resolve my problems. There should be just that 1, 2, 3, even if it's a close circle that you can trust, that, you can go to, which is very good. I'm vulnerable. There's a question, and God has, now you people, and draw strength. Fantastic. Pamela is coaching us here, seriously. Sacred space to be emotional. Yes, fantastic. Yeah, you were really taking notes, Pam. I agree with you. Okay, there's a question here. So officially, I would like to say, it takes a village meeting is over. So if you want to leave, we usually finish at 8:30, and I usually don't like taking or keeping people back. But guess why I stayed back? We didn't start until 5 past because people came late. So today, but anyway, we've officially finished. But I would like Dayo and Jubert to just touch on this question that is on there. Someone has put a question on there. Let's see if we can wrap it up within 2-3 minutes, so that we'll let people go have their Friday evenings to themselves. There's a question, and I hope.
Are you referring to the question of my wife did say that I keep a lot to myself? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that one. Yeah, this is.
It doesn't look like a question, but I think what I hear from this comment is when two worlds meet. That's how my wife used to describe it. When two worlds meet, in FSC methodology, we kind of refer to it as maybe a third world and a first world are coming together. Now, the way I'll answer that question will be, if there's there's difficulty of communication based on cultural differences, what you need to always remember is a family raised your wife. that family has a culture, even if they don't recognize it. A family raised you. Your family has a culture, even though they don't have it written on the wall of their house, like we do, because we have our own written. Now, whether consciously or unconsciously, they've been raised with that culture. And now, when the two of you come together, there's supposed to be an emergence of a new culture based on the two of you agreeing together and saying that, okay, this is how we used to do it where we are coming from. This is how we used to do it where we are coming from. I think I spent like 1 year explaining to my wife the things that we used to do in our house. For example, every December Christmas period in my family, for example, everybody within the house, because my dad is the landlord, and we usually have a lot of tenants. Everybody, no matter who you are, whether you are a friend of the tenant, everybody within that building on that day, we eat from the same plate. It's a large bowl. Everybody will come. If you are not interested in the food, just take meat. It's a way to show that I'm a part of a community. So I grew up in that kind of environment, and my wife grew up in a place where you have your own food, you have your own food, you are on your own. You eat on your own, you eat on your own. But when I got married, one of the things I started doing is explaining that. So tell me your own family. We started doing all of that explanation to each other. Before we even got married, we had a kind of memorandum of understanding. The book followed me all the way from Nigeria to the UK because I carry it everywhere I go. Our memorandum of understanding included, this is how we want to raise our own family. Even though we are coming from two different backgrounds, we can come together and agree and say, this is how exactly we want our own family to be like. And when one of us goes against that, the other person can remind the person and say that, does that look like, for example, recent occurrences? My daughter that just came here just now, she ran in the house one day and then fell and injured her arm. And my wife told her that, I've told you not to run, not to run, not to run. Me, because I understand, based on my research into fear and how fear develops, especially within the first 7 years of a child's life, I had to go walk to her while she was saying it. I said, babe, hold on. Context, do not run in the house. What if she decides later that it's running that she wants to do with her life? That statement may mar. She just said, oh, sorry, don't run in the house. So I had to quickly run to her and tell her, context. Because the context will help the child understand that is I should not run in the house, not I should not run at all. Those are things that we both agreed together that when we spot things like that, one person can call the other person. For example, while a lot of chaos was going on at my workplace, one of our agreements was, no matter what happens, I should not hold such back from my wife. My wife must be aware. Guess what? 3 days ago, I think, today is Friday, right? On Monday, I had a meeting. Tuesday, I had a meeting. Wednesday, I had a meeting. By Wednesday night, I was sitting down here. I wanted to work on a side gig that I do on some of my own personal projects. And I spent between 7 p.m. and 1 a.m. when I went to sleep. I was literally just shedding tears here, sitting down here, working on my laptop. I did not go to sleep. I did not go to sleep. If I say sleep with now, some people will misinterpret it. So them say sleep beside my wife. Well done. So what I realized was, she had to call my attention to it that, hey, you are not being open, because our family value was MORAL. ODM means openness. So she had to call my attention that you are not being open. Something is going on with you, but you are not being open with it. And I had to say, okay, you know what? I'll tell you later. When I was going to tell her, I just said everything. And when she said, this is one of the longest emotional crises that you've had to handle in Logwa. It's not, you've not, again, if you notice, the atmosphere of safety, that psychological permission for me to be able to actually divulge was created even before the situation itself happened. So again, it comes down to a couple of those things. So the different culture have an agreement. When one person is underplaying, let the other person or underperforming based on what both of you agree. let the other person call the other person and say, hey, this is what we agree. When the person is defaulting to the culture that raised them, this other person should have the, there's a word Jube used to describe at that time, emotional something, to be able to spot it, that you are defaulting to your programming. That no, man, rise up, rise to a higher level than what you are doing. So each of you, we need to agree together, and then you both call each other like that. I hope that's clear to that question. I would like Jube to add a couple of things. He is the calmer version of what I used to say.
I agree with what you said. Two people are unique. They have different backgrounds, you understand, and they come with different cultures, different filters based on, you know, how they were raised. And so coming together should bring a unique family. And so that means they have to create what they want for themselves. Like you said, we also have our own family values in our own home. And that's what helps us to thrive. So for that person, I will suggest to do the same thing. You have to have a conversation with your wife. There are certain things that, for example, one of the cultures that we have in our family is that we have a day where we sit down with our children and we tell them, tell me what you want me to work on. Tell me what I do that you do not like. No bars hold. Don't worry, you will not be beaten for saying it during this time. You will not be spanked or disciplined or anything. You can say anything that you want to say about how you feel. That's how we want to do it in our family. And everybody agrees. And so the children will always tell me, no, Daddy, remember. And I know that it helps us to build that bond. So you have to decide what you want in your family, and, you know, it will work. We can't decide for you what you want in your family. It has to be two of you coming together, deciding what you want and how you would address it. Because like you said, conversational intelligence is required. At a point in time where you need to correct the person, do not throw the ball, toss the ball, so that the person does not react in anger. Even though you have agreed, at the point where there's pressure, there still needs to be this good way of bringing the person back to the agreement. So that's what I have to add.
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much for today, guys. We really, really appreciate it. Can in the chat, let me see what you guys think. And, you know, let's just appreciate Dayo. Let's appreciate Jube for their time. I've learned 2 new words today. There's conversational intelligence. There is bread eater. Those
There's
2
what?
things.
I didn't hear the other one.
Bread eater, breadwinner.
Okay, bread eater.
You know, those are words that have been. So I'm going to just stop. No, it's okay. We'll finish officially, but I just want to really appreciate. And people are putting messages in the chat, so let's appreciate them. To the person that's asked that question, they've answered in the best way. But one of the things I'd like to say again to anyone listening that is a man, you see, there's nothing wrong in getting help, honestly. If you don't, all everything that's been said here, conversational intelligence and bread eater, you've eaten all the bread, you've done everything. There's that point where you can actually ask for help, and that help can start with, you know, that trusted person, friend, or just get someone that can help you in terms of maybe family, especially if you know that, you know, you've been married or you're into a relationship and you think, it's just not right. Maybe there's something, because the truth is, with communication, you can discuss anything. Sometimes there are things that you call difficult conversations, but guess what? They need to be held. Those are things that you also you're faced with at work. Someone is doing this, but you need to have those difficult, they're very hard to discuss, but you need to say it. But it's all about learning how to say it, when to say it, emotional intelligence, conversational intelligence, and all the other combinations that we can think about. So it's really important. Honestly, get help. Dayo, do you want to put your page on? for YouTube, for people to go there. Dio has a very wonderful page that is always teaching us about semester. Like I said at the beginning, for those that missed it, I learned about the AI tools, the differences between Chat, GPT. So that's it. Audacity to Lead is on there, so you can get on there. And I think lastly, Israel would like to say something, but like I said, officially I've ended. But this is, fellowship after fellowship. This is what we're doing. Officially, but Israel would like to say something, and I would just indulge him. But thank you so much, guys, for today. We really, really appreciate. Everybody has put in the comments about what how they would like to appreciate it. So yeah, over to you, Israel.
Thank you very much, Bokun, and to our guest speaker, Mr. Dio and Mr. Jube. I really appreciate your conversation. It's really, really needed. We need to continue this conversation. And I must thank you for the good job we are doing. Because again, just talking about the definition of what is a man, as it's difficult is it to define what is a woman. I think for us, it shouldn't be difficult for us. We know what a man is. We don't want to be hiding under one special identity to be. So whether we like it or not, we know whether physiologically we can define what a man is, and or whether emotionally, whether spiritually, we can define various based on our worldview what a man is. And I think just to reiterate some of the what you call ideas that has been shared, it's just about, again, maybe our friends, our spouses, it's just about also again asking one another how we are feeling, and not assuming that all is well, because that again can start the conversation. I'm currently run an organization, and I would really be reaching out to Mr. Daya and Mr. Ojomo. It's about, for men also, it's called Red Breed Men Tribe. We are a tribe of Red Breed Men Tribe. You can check us on redbreedmentribe.org. So I will check it. I will really check you out, and we would much more connect. So we're also on Instagram and on Facebook, we can Red Breed Men Tribe. So basically, it started from that conversation of how are you, by one of my, and this is not a fellow man, but a friend, but my supervisor, and just asking me during COVID time, how are you? I never knew that that question had a lot of weight, because even though at that time, because we just welcomed our twin baby girls, during the COVID started today, shut down today, we had our babies on that same day COVID started. So no support from anybody, no people will come and help you to come and take care of the kids, nobody to answer you, no support at all. No follow or anything. No, we still had to go out during the, what's it called, COVID time, to work, to ensure you pay bills. And I was to defend my proposal for my PhD. So it was a case of, if you don't pass your proposal, no more PhD. So the pressure was already on me. And so back to back, I was working, trying to read, trying to this, and the pressure was there a lot. But nobody was there. And when I get back home, my wife is already tired, because the twins, they sleep the same time. They wake up and we see another 3-year-old boy still disturbing. So when she just wants to say, okay, I just want to sleep, just leave me with the kid. When I'm coming back home, I just wanted to rest, but I couldn't sleep. I have to. So the pressure was there till midnight, and my supervisor just asked me that question, how are you? I never knew I had a lot in me to share. I just busted into crying. I said, Israel, talk, don't worry, just take time off, forget about the program, forget about this thing, and go and take a rest. And that question is what I ask a lot of people now, how are you? Because that question a lot can start the conversation that we really want. Also, in terms of, and that question started that conversation. We had a couple of friends too. I was asking, how are you guys feeling this thing? And they said, you too, you are feeling like you. And that's how we started Red Breed. And that's how from there we now registered as a charity, but basically for those who are in Scotland. So for those who are in England, you can create your own space. And we need to continue to create this space, create this safe space for women to be able to have these conversations and this thing. So if you are available in Scotland, we'll be having our tribe meeting on Sunday at Livingston, and from 4 p.m. So just an opportunity for us to meet and socialize and continue to have this conversation. So that's what I would like to share right now. And I would reach out to you, Mr. Ojomo and Mr. Dayo, for more collaboration, because again, we are not trying to create any new thing. We just want to continue to collaborate, and we all from the same table. We are eating from the same table of FSCE. So we are from the same worldview, and we need to continue to replicate these opportunities to a lot of men. Again, because a lot of men, we need this awareness, thinking that I must do it. You know, I tell you, me, I'm not El Shaddai because I don't want to die. So I'm not trying to produce. I'm not trying to be El Shaddai. So and that comes from the place of awareness, and we need to start letting people know that don't kill yourself. You need to relax. You need to share your worries. You need to be able to seek solutions from people when needed. And don't be afraid, don't be ashamed. If you don't give you, that is to their own loss, you know. They are just not going to be part of my own history. When I'm writing my history, you won't be part of those who I'm going to acknowledge. So that's how I see it. So if I ask you for support and you don't give me, that's your own loss. If you like, go and tell the whole village. That's your own loss. When I'm writing the history of my life, you are not going to be part of that. I help Israel to become when this, but it's going to be good for you that when I'm celebrating, I could be able to lay claim to you to fame that, oh, I met Dayo Israel, he introduced me to cryptocurrency, he helped my financial days. I met Mr. Ojomo, we were able to talk and we encouraged ourselves. I shared my project and he supported me spiritually. I stuck to this and he was able there to give me some insight and information and all that. That's how we make a very greater village. And this is so. With this 3 points of mine, I hope I've not been able to convince and not to confuse you. So,
Israel, those
all
ones
right.
are not few. You people are the ones not letting us go. You know, I finished since 8:30, but the men, now that we started the conversation, they feel that this person, they're the ones not letting us go. I'm going to stop recording.
All right. We need to continue to create this